Now, let's come to the next step. Sorry when I confuse you, but that's HR, right? That's HR. I always tell you, this is the idea, this is the concept, that's why we do it. And then I tell you why they don't work. The truth is somewhere in between, right? That's HR. Sorry. If you want to have a really clear answer, what is wrong, what is right, you should focus on something else. Then you're better off with finance. I don't know.
What about performance simplified?
Skip this.
Okay.
If I skip a slide, it's not relevant. Okay. Now let's come to the point of talent review. And before we talk about the talent review, I would share with you the so-called learning curve. Oh, there is a typo. It's curve. The learning curve. This curve shows us how things develop in nature. If you measure how a tree is growing, a flower, if you look at how children learn to speak, walk, if you start doing any kind of sports, you develop like this. That's nature. You develop fastly at the beginning. You learn a lot in the beginning. You make really huge progress in the first phase. You get better, you get better, you get better. But then your development, you get better slowly. You know, so the curve is flattened. So, but this is on a macro perspective, but this is also on a micro perspective. So with these different boxes, you see different career steps. At the beginning of every career step, you learn a lot. You learn like hell. But after a while, you hardly learn something new. And then you must do the next step to really, again, learn fastly. So this is a very natural way how we develop things, how we develop a competence, how we learn something, how things grow in nature. And I need this curve to explain you two fundamental concepts. Concept number one is potential. And the other one, which is not mentioned in this picture, is talent. There is an assumption. There is the assumption, it's not scientifically proven, but there is the assumption that there is a kind of maximum level which you can achieve on any kind of competence. If we all would have played football and nothing but football in our entire life, would we all achieve the same level like Lionel Messi? Or not? No. There is a kind of level which we could achieve theoretically. It's not visible, but it's probably there. There's a hidden level which we can achieve. And this level differs from person to person. Okay? Right from the conception, from birth of Lionel Messi, it was defined that this person, this human being, has the potential to become one of the best football players in the world. It was defined right at the beginning. The level was there. And he did well to achieve, to come very close to this level. And this level is very, very high. Okay? So for everything we consider, for every competence, leadership, strategic thinking, entrepreneurial thinking, for any kind of instrument you play, for any kind of sports you do, there is a kind of ceiling. And the ceiling might be high or low. If this ceiling, this maximum level, is very, very high, then we name it a talent. Okay? Then we name it a talent. That means you have at least the chance, you have the room to become extraordinary well with this regard. Okay? So you have a talent right from your birth, right from your conception. That's at least a commonly shared idea. And with Lionel Messi, he got this talent really right from the beginning. It's given in the DNA. Yeah? The only thing he had to do was to make use, to come as close as possible to this maximum level. So, you start here. Let's say you start here, 0. You start to learn. And now we are here. Let's say we are here. The idea is that you can achieve a lot because your maximum level is quite high. Yeah? Now the term potential comes into play. Potential means what is the difference between where you are currently with your competence and where you could be. Okay? Potential is the difference between your actual level of competence, your actual level of performance level, and the level that you could achieve. If you get the right training, if you get the support, if you got the opportunity to leverage your talent, if a lot of things apply, which you're going to talk later. There are thousands of people in the world, any place in the world, which have a really high maximum level of playing piano. But they will never reach this level because what? They don't have a piano. Because they live in the jungle or somewhere. They don't have the money. The level is there. For many things, you have a very high level and you don't know. But if you would practice it, you would come close to this level. But you don't know. This level is there, right from birth. Okay? So, the important question now let's turn to business. The important question for companies is, I have people in my company which I have employed and they develop maybe like this. They develop like this, some develop like this, some develop like this. Yeah? And the question for a company, really the valid question for a company is, how can we tell the potential of each and every employee? What can the people achieve? Yeah? I mean, I will hire you, and you work with my company 3 years, and I see where you are. I see, oh yeah, you got better, you achieved a certain level. Now I think about the future 5 years. Where will you be in 5 years? That's the question. Yeah? You don't know. We don't know. But we have to guess. Because if I believe that, you have a maximum level which you can achieve, I will support you. If I feel that, you will not meet only this level, I will not support you. Okay. So that's the point. Who is talented, who not? That's really a real question for every company. And let's talk about this. From what I see from research and practice, I find at least 3 criteria which are absolutely key. And you might think about yourself, if you need to understand, if you want to tell which person will be a future executive and which not, yeah? What's the difference? You have 2 persons. Person A, this person will somehow stuck in the middle, and person B will really succeed. This person will be a future executive, top level. How can you tell in very early years the difference between A and B? Yeah? Can we tell right in this group who will be on C level one day and who not? Can we tell this? That would be an interesting question. Yeah? We could invite some managers here, and every manager talk with everybody in this room, and at the end we make a judgment. Who will be an executive and who not? The question is, which criteria will we use? Yeah, to tell whether you're going to be a future leader or not. And from what I see, there are 3 criteria which are really relevant. And the first criteria is related to performance. Yeah? There are 2 employees in a company, employee A and employee B again. Both were hired 2 years ago. Both came from the same business school. Person A did quite well. Yeah, after 1 year, she took a project, did it quite good. It's okay. Average. Person B took over responsibility by his own after the first half year, and it was dramatically successful. It was brilliant. The way this person acted and the way this person engaged others, the way this person planned the project, the way this person performed was extraordinary. We rarely see something like this. And after 2 years, you can tell, this person is with this company for 2 years, but what this person has achieved, what this person has learned in these 2 years, you rarely find something like this. And only after 2 years, this person became so good in what she does. If you compare these two people, A and B, you would go for B. Why? Because person B learned so fastly, improved his or her performance so fastly, learned so fastly, took over responsibility so fastly. So the idea is, if somebody demonstrates an extraordinary growth in ability, then we assume that this growth will continue. And we will see a lot more in the future. So we predict future performance development based on past performance development. If somebody developed very fastly in the past, then this person will develop very fastly in the future. That's a fundamental idea. The next criteria is around personality. You find different people, again, both from the same business school, both employed since 2 years with this company. And you find that person A is fine, respected by others, accepted, or person B is a kind of natural leader. The others listen to this person. And this person has some strong values. They have personality that is in a way that this person can be a role model for others. He's so consequent, so honest, so real, so it's hard to capture. I can give you a test or something that tells you is your personality wrong or right. Here it's just you feel that this young person gonna be a role model for others in the future. You can't measure it. It relates to gut feeling. Maybe you have to prove it on former behavior, former situations. You feel that, well, we had this project and we had a team of 5 people, and at 8 o'clock in the evening, it was Friday, 4 people left, and there was this one person who worked through the entire weekend. But he didn't complain. It was great. So, these are the things where you see, wow, this person is special. Can be a role model for others. If you want this behavior, if this behavior is really expected. The third criteria is also very, very hard to measure, but you can feel it. And you can see it. It's about motivation. Or I should put it rather in terms of hunger. Some people are motivated, they want to do a good job. Everybody wants to do a good job, I think. But there are a few people who are not only motivated, they are hungry. They tell you, give me bigger shoes. I don't wait for you to throw me into the cold water. I'm looking for the cold water, and I jump into the coldest water which is there voluntarily. There are people who are hungry. You talk to them and you think, wow, these are the I want to change the world guys. If all these 3 things come together, extraordinary growth, personality that proves that this person is going to be a role model for others, and hunger, then these are criteria which we use to tell, okay, this person might be high potential. Okay? The question now is, who are our high potentials? What is a high potential? So far I've shown you some criteria which companies use to determine potential. I would like to share with you a very concrete concept which most companies actively use, and this is the performance potential grid. Some call it also the 9 box. It's something really most companies use, very
9
commonly
box, as
used.
in the number 9?
3 times 3.
Oh, okay.
9 box. We see 2 dimensions. Dimension number 1 is potential. There are people which have much potential and some with lower potential. So lower potential means they don't have much room to get better, while those with high potential, they have much room to get better. Okay? Performance is the actual performance level. How good are you now? There are people who constantly exceed performance expectations, and there are people which do not exceed or do not meet expectations. Now, companies used to classify their people according to these 2 dimensions. Now let's have a look at some fields here. This is, by the way, taken from a famous book, The War for Talent. This grid looks different from company to company, but the idea is always the same. Now let's look at people with high potential but low performance. Can you imagine this? These are people who can really do much better in the future, but now they fail. What's wrong with these guys?
Maybe they lack motivation.
Maybe it's about motivation. Yeah? They don't like what they do. Yeah? They don't love what they do.
Maybe they just count on the fact that their managers know they have a high potential, but they're actually lazy, like in school.
Yes.
Very,
Yeah.
very smart, sometimes
Very good.
disturbed in class because they're just too smart for it.
They have the wrong managers. And it's a good example which you brought in. Sometimes, highly gifted people, highly gifted children, hochbegabte. How are they in school? They're normally bad. They are under-challenged. The teacher, the boss, do not see the potential and do not support these people accordingly. Yeah? Okay? This is wrong with these people. And a good idea is to think of whether they should do a different job, take over a different role, change the manager. Yeah. Now let's look at these people on the right-hand bottom side. In the textbooks, sometimes you read the term workhorse. It's kind of cynical, workhorse. It means that these people, they constantly exceed expectations. They do a really good job. They perform on a high level. But at the same time, we think that they can't do better. They already have reached this ceiling, There is no more room for improvement, but they are good. And the recommendation in the War for Talent, and we can questioning this, is let's keep these people in place. Don't change it. Leave them where they are. They do a good job, but you must not invest in these people. It's a dangerous thinking, but at least this is the recommendation from this book. A more tragic situation is this. On the left-hand bottom side, the C2s. These are people which perform low. They don't meet expectation, and at the same time you think that they can't do better. Okay, the poor guys. Tragic. Some companies say, you have to manage these people out. What does that mean, to manage out?
I'm with you today.
People.
Firing
No,
them.
yeah, I totally. connect.
Maybe help
Already-
them to find a better role.
Just
Help
wonder,
them
'cause you-
to find a place where they can perform. Because people want to do a good job, and these are poor people. Yeah? If you feel that you don't perform well, you are poor. You don't like to stand up in the morning. Yeah? And if you think that in your role you can't do better, you are constantly over-challenged with what you do, you are in a bad position. Now, on the right-hand top side, the A2s in this picture, these people, they have much potential. They can become much better than today, and they already exceed expectations. And these people here are those which we name high potential. Okay? So the term high potential is not just a vague, weird concept. It's clearly defined. In most companies, high potentials are those with a high performance level and much potential. Some companies name these the top talent, the Nachwuchskräfte. There are different names for this, but the most commonly term which I use in my lecture is high potentials. In many companies, there are so-called forced distributions. Forced distributions, that means it's clearly defined that we only have maybe 5% on this box, and we have 5% here, and 90% in the rest. That can differ from company to company. So sometimes clearly define how many people should end up in these different boxes. Okay? So again, this is an exercise managers undertake in a setting like this, where they talk their people through. It typically starts on top. So the leadership on top level. They sit together and talk their people through. Find out who are the high potentials. It's not that they really, in all companies, they classify all people in all the different boxes. In some companies, they only think about who are on the right-hand top box. Yeah? So they differentiate only between two different groups. Who are the high potentials, who are not. Some companies differentiate between who are the high potentials, who are the low performers on the left-hand bottom side, and don't discuss the rest. Okay, and in practice, it's sometimes it feels like I mean, just imagine we would need to do this exercise in this room with you. You consider, okay, how is your performance in your study right now, and whom of you has really potential to get even better? Yeah, we can talk this through. I guess that for 70-80% of the people we will not really discuss because we think, no, they aren't high potentials. Then there are 10 people, 8 people, we think, okay, they could be. There are 2-3 people in the room where we have no doubt. We are all clear, yes, these are high potentials. So in practice, for most people you don't really discuss. It's clear right from the moment. And from others, it's also clear that they are high potentials. But the discussion starts with some where it's not so clear. And then HR comes into play, the HR business partner, the HR director, who try to facilitate the situation. So now let's talk about Bernd. You say he's a high potential, some won't agree, so please tell me, why is Bernd a high potential? Okay, he did this project, succeed that way, was a role model, but then he failed, so what do we think? Yeah, so sometimes you struggle, and then you make a final decision. Okay, given what we have learned about Bernd, let's decide that, okay, he's a high potential. Okay, that's how it works. So, and once you have done this on a level, you go one level deeper. It's an intense process. It's not a process that's done in half an hour. Yeah? A talent review typically takes at least half a day, or maybe one day, where managers on senior level sit together and talk with people through. That's very, very intense. I mean, they make a decision about in whom they want to really invest, in which people they really believe, which people do we see in the future as our future leaders. Okay, that's a very critical decision these people make in this situation. Okay, so and at the end of this process of talent review, you have, to put it simple, a list of names. Let's say we have a list of 30 names, our high potentials. And the question is, what to do with these? What happens with these? So if you're nominated as a high potential, wherever you will work, the question is, what will happen to you? Okay, let's talk about this. And as I said earlier, the next step is that the company undertakes a more detailed assessment about your strengths and weaknesses. Yeah? And one idea to do this, I mentioned this already, is to do a kind of assessment center. We don't name it assessment center in this occasion. We name it potential assessment, or as some name it, development assessment. Okay. So again, you spend 1 day or 2 days with other high potentials, and you do some silly tasks, or some group exercises, case studies, presentation, tests, interviews, all these different things, these nice things which we have in HR to determine what are your real strengths and what are your weaknesses. Okay. Another concept which is heavily used, is very famous, very commonly used, is the so-called 360-degree feedback. Yeah? That comes into play here. What is that? Most high potentials are already on the level of team leader, project leader. Okay. So in a 360-degree feedback, you have a look at these people from very different angles. You use questionnaires. Yeah? You use questionnaires, and then different people make evaluation about your performance, about your competencies. What are the different angles? First angle is your subordinates. It's your team, the people who report to you. Okay? They say, okay, from our perspective, we think that Bernd is good in this and this and this, but not so good in that. Okay? Then this person has some peers. Yeah? These are colleagues on the same level, other team leads. Yeah? And they look from a horizontal angle. Okay, we work with Bernd and his team, and what we can see is that he has some strengths and weaknesses and blah, blah, blah. And then there is the boss of Bernd, yeah, on top. He looks down and says, Bernd, my team lead? Yeah, he has some strengths and weaknesses. Duck, 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 duck. And there are some other departments, maybe customers, internal customers Bernd works with, and they look from a different angle. Okay, customers are always those that work with the result of team. Yeah? So in companies, when you work in a company, you have internal customers, those who benefit from your work, yeah, in the value chain. So you get a feedback from these. And moreover, the person as such makes an assessment about him or herself. Okay, so I'm Bernd. I think that my strengths are these and my weaknesses are these. And then I compare my view with the feedback from all others. So what I get at the end is a very complete feedback from very different angles. And that's important because the expectations from the peers are totally different than the expectations from the subordinates. And these expectations are different than the expectation from the supervisor. Okay? Might be. Must not be, but might be. Okay? So having a feedback from all these different perspectives gives me very complete, reliable understanding about what my strengths and my weaknesses are. Okay? It's very time intense, very costly doing something like this. It is much administrative effort to manage something like this. Yeah, but it's it's highly accepted. And for the focused person, the person in question, it's very, very useful. Okay? So, where are we? You are identified as a high potential. You went through some potential assessment. Now, there is an understanding about your strengths and weaknesses. Now is the question, what comes next? And of course, the next step should be about let's say, fixing some development needs. You should get better in international experience, okay, let's do something. You should get better in managing projects, okay, let's do something. Okay? So referring to the competency model, you might find that there are some weaknesses, some strengths, and according to this, some development plans are defined. Okay? Let's talk about this. And before we talk about this, I would like to share with you a fundamental differentiation. Let me ask you, whom of you wants to succeed in his or her career? Of course, all of you. Yeah. I would be surprised if you would say no. Now, next question. What does that mean to you, career? What is that? Career is important, maybe. You want to be successful in your career. What is your idea, your personal idea about career? What is that? Could we share some thoughts? What does that mean, career? Please.
Maybe it is to like accelerate my potentials to bring it to the fullest.
Okay. You want to get better in something,
yeah?
And accelerate your talent.
That's my fingerprint in the world.
Sorry?
My fingerprint in the world.
Your fingerprint in your world, in the world. Yeah? Okay.
For me, it's ultimately reaching that ceiling that we were talking about.
You want to reach the ceiling. You want to be as good as possible in what you do. Yeah?
For some, it's maybe being promoted every now and then, or
Right.
for others, it's more how your work life develops.
Yeah. Promotion. Of course, promotion is also a very important concept related to career. To be successful in career might mean that you get promoted sometimes in your life. But you put it right. It does not necessarily mean that you get promoted. There are two types of careers. And I'm really happy. I mean, you said the first mentions, the first points were not really about promotions. It was about, I want to become excellent in what I do. I want to be unique in what I do, my fingerprint. Yeah? I want to be able to say, that's me. I'm strong in this. That's great. Yeah? That's my place in the world. Yeah? So, career does not necessarily mean management career. Okay, that's my point here. Management career means that your responsibility inside the hierarchy increases. Okay? You move from a lower level to a higher level. That's our traditional understanding of career, to get promoted, right? But what we can see nowadays is that for many people, and obviously for some of you, career does not necessarily mean that you get promoted. Because leading people, leading managers, managing organizations, leading organizations, that's not only fun, that might be scary. But you want to get better. You reach the ceiling. So career must not necessarily mean that you move up the hierarchical ladder. It could also mean, now we talk about expert career, that you simply get better in what you are, yeah, without getting promoted. That's what we call an expert career. So you stay on the same level, but you are step by step considered as a more and more and more influential, important expert in something. I give you an example. I'm an example. I did an expert career. I'm a really lousy manager. I cannot manage people. It is as it is. I accepted it. And I'm happy that I accepted it. Yeah, so I should not manage people. I became a professor. I'm an expert. That's what professors are. They are an expert something. I gained some privileges. I got a nice title. Yeah. But I don't lead people. You know. So professor is a typical expert career, and we have this in some companies. Yeah. At IBM, for instance, there is a specific role. Research fellows. The research fellows are not people that lead others. They are highly accepted, highly respected experts in something. And it's not easy to become a research fellow. You get a lot of privileges. You are free to work on whatever you like. Yeah? You act like a professor, but inside a company. It's really a level that some people want to achieve. They don't want to lead people, but they want to be seen as an expert in something. That is what we call an expert career. So what you take home with this, just want to add it here, is when we talk about development, when we talk about career, it does not necessarily mean management career. More and more companies also work on something which we call expert career. Okay, and the question here is, okay, how about the salary? Okay, I increase my salary by getting promoted. Do I also get more salary by getting a more senior expert? I mean, these are the questions here. Okay, now let's talk about some very concrete development measures. And here is a picture, again, taken from the War for Talent. They made a study, a very interesting study. They asked managers who really succeeded, what was important in your career? What helped you to succeed in your career? Okay? And the most important axis is the horizontal axis, the importance of different development measures. And here we already find a huge portfolio, a huge range of different things companies can do. From training, mentoring, 360-degree feedback, rotation, roles with special project opportunities, whatever. What we can tell, and I will take up this point later on, is that there are a lot of different things. Some have to do with training, some have to do with mentoring, coaching, feedback, and a lot of things have to do with jobs. Okay? So this is from research what we know. I will take this in a minute and we talk about different concepts. I want you to understand these different concepts. Before we do this, let's ask ourselves one important question. The question is, what helps people to really leverage, to really develop their talent? That's also important to you. You all have a talent. And I think one of the most important questions in life is to understand, what is my talent? Where can I be really strong? This is a critical question. This is a tough question. And to answer this question sometimes takes an entire life. You cannot answer this question by just doing a test. You cannot answer this question in a weekend. Some people struggle with that question for the rest of their life, never finding out what their talent were. Poor people. There are other people which knew right from childhood what they want to be. Leonard Bernstein, just to take one example. Leonard Bernstein, this great conductor, one of the greatest conductors of all times. He realized in the age of 4, when he attended a concert with his father, he realized at this particular moment, I'm going to be a conductor. Yes. And he stick to this through his life. Some others realized very early in their life, this is what I'm going to be in my life. Lucky people. Do you all know what you're going to be, where you are strong? Do you all know what your talents are? Probably not. So, then the question is, once I know where I can be strong, what must happen that I'm not only this child sitting in the concert with my father, but really getting one of the best conductors in the world. Not only realizing that I'm a talented football player, but really come to a level of Lionel Messi or lower. Okay? And there are some studies around, but I personally prefer to study biography. So in my home I have, I don't know how many books, biographies. I love to read biographies, really. And I learn a lot from biographies. Yeah. I learn about what is the architecture of success? What are the drivers that makes people successful? And here is on one single slide, my personal, I really highlight this, my personal view. It's not that I've taken this from some research, but this is what I see, at least. People who develop their talent truly love what they do. Do you love what you do? You study business. I do not ask, do you love to study business? I mean, that would be too extreme. But you should like it. Really. In my life, I studied mechatronics when I was 20. Mechatronics, Fachhochschule Esslingen. For 2 semesters. Then I quit. I went home to my parents, said, you know what, I quit my study. What? How can you do this? Oh, I hate mechatronics. So, Armin, what do you want to do now? I study psychology. Oh my God. My parents, you need to know, my parents are very traditional, kind of conservative people. I love my parents. Perfect. I had the perfect parents in mind. At this moment, the response is, our son wants to become a psychologist. I mean, Armin, if you have some problems, we can talk. Yeah. The fact was, and they knew it, I loved psychology so much. I had so many books about psychology. I studied mechatronics in daytime, and in the evening I read books about psychology. I love psychology. So I decided to study psychology. And from that moment, I truly loved what I did. Studying was fun to me. It was really fun. I did what I liked anyhow. So it was perfect. So if you hate business, do something else. It's not that you must love everything. I mean, there were some things in psychology which I did not like. Of course. And you must not like tax, law, accounting. You must not like everything. But you should like to think about business. Yeah? Okay? It's important that you love what you do. Life is too important to do something which you don't love. Okay? And for the successful people, for those it completely applies that they love what they do. And they knew their real potential. They knew that they can be good. Okay? And they also knew where they can't be good. There they took some help from others. So to have understanding about where can I be strong, it's important. And they had a vision, a role model. This is where I'm going to end up in my life. They knew this, or at least they had a rough idea. Yeah? And they loved to jump into cold water. They did not hesitate. You can read it through all the biographies. When they found an opportunity to prove their talent, to leverage talent, they walked to it. They run to it. They were not laid back and waiting for somebody asking them to do something. They always looking for, where can I do something? Where can I have my next challenge? They build networks, and it's important. You have to build networks. I recently read a biography of Eric Clapton. And it's funny because when you read Eric Clapton, when he was 16, 20, he wrote, yes, in the evening I met Phil Collins, and then we drank something together, and we met Mick Jagger, and then we had a funny night, and 4 o'clock in the morning we sat together with John Lennon and Paul McCartney, and said, oh my God, he knew everybody. Yeah, and that was important. That was important. Yeah, knowing people, really. You know this also from research that if you hide yourself in your shelf, you will not be detected. You must know people. Build a network. You must sell yourself. Yeah? One important criteria to succeed is